Some years ago, I told a friend of mine that I couldn't be a Democrat because they support and promote killing children by the millions. She became quite indignant and replied that she could never be a Republican because they kill children and many other people in wars. This was not the only time I would hear people rationalize their practical support of child murder by asserting that Republican warmongering is a greater moral crime. So let's make a comparison between Democrats killing children in their mother's wombs and Republican warmongering. The purpose of war is to bring about geopolitical change or to defend one's own or an ally's nation. Some nations have used war as a means of exterminating specific groups of people, but the United States, to this point, has not done this. The purpose of an abortion, on the other hand, is to kill with premeditation a specific child. The timeline for war is finite. It ends when either side surrenders. There is no time limit, however, for legal child murder. Democrats demand that it must continue unrestricted forever. The targets of military action are enemy combatants, weapons, vehicles, and facilities. The target of an abortion is not a soldier or vehicle or building, but a child, a completely innocent, utterly defenseless child. When civilians are killed in a modern U.S. war, it is counted as a failure of intelligence or execution. But an abortion is considered a failure if it doesn't kill a child. Think about that one for a moment. The motive for war, at least as the U.S. has conducted it over the past 100 years, is to defeat evil, to protect our interests and territory, and to defend and liberate the innocent and oppressed. The motive for killing a child in the womb, however, is personal convenience. And perhaps most important of all, whether or not you agree with any given military response the United States has made, it should be noted that all of them have been responses to apparent threats or aggressions from other nations. In other words, the guys who got bombed were the ones who caused the problem. But only 2% of aborted children were the product of rape, which means that 98% of the time, the mother who wants to have her child killed chose, with full knowledge of what makes babies, the activity that made the child. With legal child murder, the people responsible for creating the situation escape the consequences through the death of an innocent third party, their own baby. As of this recording, legal child murder has killed 55 million children in the United States since it was made the law of the land in 1973. The U.S. military hasn't killed that many people in all of its wars in all of history put together. I should add that it is a falsehood that Republicans start wars without Democrat support, because Republicans have never unilaterally declared or started a war. Since the creation of the Republican Party, every war involving the United States has been approved and funded by Congress with both Republican and Democrat support, except for that time when Democrats seceded from the Union and unilaterally started the Civil War by firing on Northern soldiers at Fort Sumter. And Democrats have included child murder in their party platform. Their 2016 platform document states that every woman should have access to safe and legal abortion regardless of where she lives, how much money she makes, or how she is insured. Apparently they haven't noticed that although abortion can be legal, it can never be made safe for the child involved. This excerpt means that no preborn child is safe, and they want their neighbors to pay for killing them. They go on to say they seek to overturn federal and state laws and policies that impede a woman's access to abortion. In other words, they want no restrictions of any kind. They further state they want to use American assistance to provide safe, legal abortion throughout the developing world. They want to kill children in other countries as well, and again, they want their neighbors to pay for it. So for Republican war, if there were such a thing, to be the moral equivalent of Democrat child murder, the Republican platform would have to say something like this: we will start wars simply because we want to, or for no reason at all. And we will deliberately target and kill millions of innocent, defenseless civilians. We will use U.S. resources to export this practice to other nations so that they too will begin wars for no reason. And we will continue this activity without restriction forever. This is our fundamental human right. But the Republican platform obviously doesn't say anything like this. If it did, it would sound just as absurd and horrible as Democrats' demands that they be allowed to kill children without consequence. The claim that Republicans are somehow morally inferior to people who deliberately target and dismember human children is crazy. It's an emotional charge intended to keep those who say it and those who hear it from facing the reality that voting for a Democrat is to support a terrible and continuing evil.